I
From Simon & Schuster Audio.
Folger Theatre at Folger Shakespeare Library presents Hamlet by William Shakespeare.
Who's there?
Happy Friday. So the play is going to start by saying ghosts are real. And this is going to be representative of Catholic purgatory. And I guess the people watching the play have recently been converted from Catholicism to Protestantism. And so we start with the ghosts, but we're going to go into something else. We're going to take the ghosts inside. Happy Friday. Have a good weekend.
So there's a bit of that going on as well, I think.
Yeah, and it's also just hammering home this consistent motif in the play, which is not actually being able to tell the difference between something that is simply assumed, put on, as Hamlet says in this speech, like suiting. It's like wearing clothes. This is why I keep coming back to this Reformation idea, that Protestantism created this fault line between being able to tell the difference between what people's exterior action meant and what their interior lives were like.
So the other thing that goes...
But what we do determine, oft we break. Purpose is but the slave to memory, a violent birth but poor validity, which now the fruit unripe sticks on the tree, but fall unshaken when they mellow be. Most necessary 'tis that we forget to pay ourselves what to ourselves is debt. What to ourselves in passion we propose, the passion ending, doth the purpose lose. The violence of either grief or joy their own enactures with themselves destroy. Where joy most revels, grief doth most lament. Grief joys, joy grieves, on slender accident. This world is not for aye, nor 'tis not strange that even our loves should with our fortunes change. For 'tis a question left us yet to prove whether love lead fortune or else fortune love. The great man down, you mark, his favorite flies. The poor, advanced, makes friends of enemies. And hitherto doth love on fortune tend, for who not needs shall never lack a friend, and who in want a hollow friend doth try, directly seasons him his enemy. But orderly to end where I begun, our wills and fates do so contrary run that our devices still are overthrown.
At the next light, turn right.
Our thoughts are ours, their ends none of our own. So think thou wilt no second husband wed, but die thy thoughts when thy first lord is dead.
No.
Happy Saturday, happy Sunday. I haven't finished Hamlet yet. I'm like halfway through, just finished the To Be or Not to Be. I missed class today because I went to Beaver Lake to participate in the blessing of the waters, to see Jesse and Claudia. But I really think that Hamlet is so crazy, quote unquote crazy, because he is grasping for authoritative disambiguation, because he represents a mind now outside of the church. He's like the Nietzsche's God is dead character. He has to create his own values, and he's going crazy. That's my take so far. Happy Sunday. Yeah, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, those represent the the Rosicrucians and the Masons, that the church is sending in to spy on those outside of the church to get their take on why they're so crazy. So the Reformation is my hammer, and everything in Hamlet is now a nail. Okay, happy Monday. So I'm about 20 minutes into the lecture of Hamlet that I missed this past weekend. And first point to get across is, yes, there's a hammer, and it's Catholicism versus Protestantism phenomenologies. And there are tons of nails in Hamlet. The next order of business that he's bringing us to is he's calling it the language arts. And I still need to listen to this to see where he's going, but I think what Hamlet is doing with logic and language has to do with his drowning in his efforts to make meaning. He's outside of the church. He doesn't have the fathers and the hierarchy to tell him to make meaning for him, so he has to do it himself, like Nietzsche's God is dead, has to create his own values. So he's drowning in this, and he's delirious.
You gonna tell me that we put plants, spices, dead animals all in a cauldron and follow instructions written by people in a book from 100 years ago and soup isn't witchcraft? Horse shit.
countercultural. And the thing he would always tell all the people in the prisons was, the mistake you've made is to commit your acts in real life. He said, I'm the most urbane, delightful and witty man, because all of the horrors and the most disgusting things, he's put them on celluloid. They're, sometimes it does feel like they're out of his head, and he's made them into a form of art, which is, there we go, that's my dark head, and now here I am in my nice suit.
I remember Aleister Crowley, someone saying that if he'd actually been a better magician and had had a better imagination, then he wouldn't have had to actually do all of those horrible things in real life. He could strenuously enough and got exactly the same effect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are the types of cognitive traps that people succumb to precisely to not alter their original position? And Leon Festinger, I don't know if you know, he's the pioneer who developed the theory of cognitive dissonance. And so he has an amazing quote, which I use in one of my earlier books, in The Parasitic Mind, where he basically says the types of mental machinations that the average human being will engage in to make sure that there's cognitive consistency in his mind. Because incoming information that contradicts my anchored position makes me feel icky. So what are the kinds of mental gymnastics I'm going to go through to make sure that everything stays consistent in my mind? Which, as you might imagine, is a big obstacle for me, because I'm in the business of administering mind vaccines to people, right? Getting them to think properly. But if the reality is that the architecture of the human mind is not built to change their positions, then I'm up Schitt's Creek.
Well, if you
Happy Saturday. I just finished Act 3 in Pericles. And here's my analysis so far. Pericles is a vessel of the Logos, which the Greek project was definitely concerned with the Logos. Odysseus kind of started it, and Pericles is going through a kind of like Odyssey. Pericles carried it, Plato articulated it, and Jesus was kind of the manifestation of all of that. So Pericles is the Logos. Happy Saturday.
Spinderella cut it up one time.
But what we do know is that the tradition understands that her body is so revered that it is taken up into heaven as a forecast of a confirmation that this is the fate of all Christian bodies, the resurrection of the body. Again, we've turned this into points of disputation amongst Christian churches. We have to take the bird's eye view and say for a moment, wait, Mary also represents the entire church. She's not just her. It appears to be the case in Romans 12 that she represents the ecclesia, the gathered ones, this exalted image in the New Testament itself, where she represents the persecuted people of God. And so one way of thinking about it is when you're looking at Mary, you're looking at yourself. And think about it. Doesn't Paul agonize over the believers until Christ is formed in them? Yes. He agonizes in Galatians over them as a woman in labor until Christ is formed in you. And so if Christ is supposed to be formed in us, male and female, not literally, of course, that was for Mary, but spiritually speaking, then we are all Marian in that sense. And so that's why
they may prefer to look at Macbeth as a warning sign about ambition. But to those who feel the ambition inside of them and feel like it's not as simple as that, Nietzsche's insight may help you come to terms with what you're feeling. And I'll end by repeating that. By repeating that part that was my absolute favorite. Once again, in the modernized language, quote, tragic poets don't take sides against life by highlighting its struggles. Instead, they celebrate the intensity and unpredictability of existence. Life is wild, dangerous, dark, yet often illuminated by moments of brilliance. It's an adventure, no matter which side you take or how you live it. It will always be thrilling and unpredictable.
Okay, happy Saturday. I just met Lady Macbeth, and okay, Shakespeare is writing this for King James, as in the Bible guy, the guy that set a standard to the Bible. I'm sure I'll find out more about that today, because the teacher is very Catholic. Shakespeare's mother, was it? One of Shakespeare's parents was a Catholic. Shakespeare's daughter may have converted to Catholicism. But King James wrote a book called Demonology, and I've already met the witches, I've met how they enchanted, I've met Lady Macbeth. This is a play about demonology. He's presenting this to King James as, hey, I've read your book, I liked it, here's what it looks like. Happy Sunday, Macbeth. So, all about demons, demonology, witches, spells, enchantment, bad faith. There's this book called The Transmigration of Timothy Archer by Philip K. Dick, and Terence McKenna gives a wonderful analysis of like the technical aspects of what Philip K. Dick, the plot devices Philip K. Dick is using. And he's riffing on Gnosticism. And the idea is there's this piece of information called the plasmate. And once you kind of wrestle around with this piece of information in your mind, it takes over your mind. And it then like permeates your whole brain. It corrupts all of your thoughts. This is what's happened to Macbeth and Lady Macbeth. The spell of the witches has totally corrupted